The 3-year lease on my Tesla was up and I had to decide whether or not to get a new one. I'll tell you what I decided and why coming up next. Hey, what's happening, friends? I had a 3-year lease on a Tesla Model 3 and it ended recently, and I had to make a decision on whether or not I wanted to get a new one or get something else. And so I'm gonna give you some reasoning on why I decided to get a new one and a new 3-year lease. And this is it right here. This is a new Model Y, doesn't even have the license plates yet. And there's the main reasons why I got another one is they're great. All of the reasons that I said in my last video about why owning a Tesla is awesome in Hawaii still stand true, but there was some things that I learned about owning a Tesla that I had to adjust and change. And so when I was in the process of getting a new lease and deciding on which car to actually get, there's some things that I learned from owning a Model 3 standard range that I wanted to change when I got a new one. So when I made a decision on getting a Model Y long range, this is why. The first reason is that the range matters. And one of the issues that I ran into with the standard range was going to and back from Hilo on the same day. I wasn't able to do that in the standard range because it was like just about enough where I would just make it back from Hilo if I didn't charge while I was there. And so I didn't want to have that restriction anymore. So I decided to go with the long range, pay a little bit more. I can easily go from Kona to Hilo and back in the same day and still like have 100 miles left over. So that is super awesome. Have done that several times already in the new Model Y and very much enjoy it. So that's reason number one, is the additional range. The second thing is the Model Y has a little bit more ground clearance than the Model 3. And that's something that I ran into a few times. Was just on the Big Island, we have some bumpy roads and some places where the roads can get kind of gnarly. And when you have that really low car, there is a chance for bottoming out. And I wanted to have a little bit more flexibility in terms of the kind of roads I could go on. So I decided the Model Y would be a better fit because it has a little bit more ground clearance, and I didn't have that restriction on where I could go if the roads were a little bit subpar, which is very common here on the Big Island. Especially when you're looking at real estate, you're gonna go on all kinds of weird places that you don't wanna have to stop and maybe change cars if you don't have the right amount of ground clearance. So that's reason number two that I went with the Model Y. And the last reason is just practical. My kids were 3 years younger when I got the Model 3, and they were a little bit smaller, and now they're into their teen years and they're a lot bigger. And this one has a higher head space, so it's a little bit more room. Backseat feels a little bit bigger. And one practical thing that I didn't consider when I got the Model 3 was trunk space. And so a big thing for us here, especially when you have two teenage boys, is I spend a lot of time going to Costco, and you can't put a big cooler into a Model 3 because the trunk opening, it's got a really big trunk, but the trunk opening isn't big enough to put a really big cooler in, where the Model Y has the hatchback that opens up and you can put a pretty big cooler inside of there and do all of your Costco shopping, and you have no restriction on how much food you can buy or how much cold food you can buy if you got to throw it into a cooler before you take the long drive home. So those are the three reasons why I decided to upgrade a little bit from a Model 3 to a Model Y, but all of the awesome reasons: not paying for gas, no maintenance, just the upgraded driving experience stand true. Highly, highly recommended. And if you look into the cost of a Tesla, it's almost less than any other kind of nice higher end vehicle. And it's a great value, especially with the no cost of maintenance and the no cost of gas, which can get high here on the Big Island. So if you have any questions, you can always email me at dylan@buybigisland.com. Put them in the comments below. And there's always a Calendly link if you want to book a meeting with me directly and talk about your plans. Love to talk to you. I'll see you guys next week. Aloha.